When a child is punished by not getting their late work accepted or getting points taken off, what have they actually learned? What did we achieve besides punishing the child?
One of the most common responses to Dr. J's amazing video has been something like this. Effectively, that punishment is acceptable because it is consequences for your actions. And yet, years of research continually shows that punishment is not very effective. So, what's going on if we understand also this idea of consequences for our actions? And this is a very broad and complicated topic, but there are two concepts that are very relevant to this conversation in education: point of performance and natural consequence. A natural consequence is, like it sounds, the thing that naturally happens as a result of my action. So, for example, if I eat an entire cake by myself in one sitting, I might get a stomach ache. That is the direct natural consequence of that action. A parent coming in and yelling at me about eating that cake is not a natural consequence. That's really just what we call a punishment. And point of performance refers to when the consequence happens. Does it happen pretty immediately after I do the thing, or does it happen much later? Now, human brains are really not great with time, so the closer a consequence is to an action, the more effective our brains link them as being related. So the stomach ache from eating that cake, for example, is fairly immediately after, and we're pretty good at connecting the two and saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that again. Versus, say, a parent yelling at you the next morning when they discover the cake, and although intellectually you might understand they're connected, on that emotional, visceral level, not so much. And the other idea of a natural consequence is important too. The stomach ache flows from eating the cake very directly and in a meaningful way. In contrast, when the parent comes in and yells at the child, those two aren't necessarily connected. And in fact, what usually happens is the child learns that the bad action is letting the parent know that the cake was eaten, not the eating of the cake itself. So now coming back to that kid turning in their late assignment. What happens when you say simply, no, I'm not accepting this piece of paper that you just did all of that work on? Well, the natural consequence actually happened before they even came into that room. It was when they had to pull that all-nighter and stress out because they hadn't done the work on time. And the punishment of not accepting the paper at all, well, that now gets connected at point of performance with the handing in the late assignment, which means that the lesson learned is that the consequence of doing my work but later is that I'm going to be in more trouble than if I never do it at all. So that doesn't teach the child to do the work on time. It teaches them to not even bother trying if they miss the original deadline. For more on educational content, follow Dr. J, and for more psychology content and also a little education, don't forget to follow here as well.